Hi fellow traders, what's happening? I hope you guys had a great week this week. My week was really chopped up. I had to take Tuesday off. My brother had some major surgery. Monday, I was kind of worried and thinking about that. Wednesday, we were through it, but I still had some things I needed to do to kind of help him out. So it just kind of everything just kind of built on top of each other. So just a choppy week, but this was the best week to have one because leading into earnings season, this is the last week before earnings season kicks off, and it's usually the slowest. This week and the week before is usually the slowest weeks for me, based on how I trade. So I think all things considered, I think I came out of it pretty decent. So after this segment, I'm going to recap my trades and kind of recap the week a little bit. But we're going to do another segment here in building consistency in your trading. We're almost to the top of that pyramid. This one is a really quick and simple lesson, and it's going to kind of tie into one that's in the next segment above. We're going to talk about adding strategies, and it kind of segues into safely adapting to changing market conditions. Kind of not perfectly, but some of the things we're going to bring from what we talk about today when we move into adapting to changing market conditions. These are two different things. Okay, when you're adding strategies, you are at the point where you should have already picked up a strategy or two that you started out with, your foundation, and you want to build on it, you want to add to it. And just like anything else in trading, if you want consistent success, you got to have a plan. We have a plan for pretty much everything we do in trading. In order to add strategies, you kind of need a plan too. It's simple. It's not a whole lot to it, but there are things that you have to think about before you move forward. So by now, you should have a good idea of who you are as a trader. Are you the type trader that can, trade fast moving momentum, make very, very quick decisions? Are you that type person? Are you an adrenaline junkie? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not picking on that. Some people, that's who they are. Nothing wrong with that at all. But if that's what you are, then you know what strategies you want to start to look at. If you're a person that's slow and meticulous and you like trend following trades, there's nothing wrong with that. But you could be somewhere in between, like me. I don't like the really fast moving stuff, but the opening range breakouts or the pre-market high and low breakouts or breakdowns could move pretty quick. They can make some pretty quick moves, and I'm okay with that. I just don't want to do it every day. But I like the momentum. I like the little bit of adrenaline that you get, but I don't like it overdone. So I know what I like. I know the strategies that I like, and I know whenever I add one, it's got to fit who I am as a trader. But before you move on, and here's where a lot of traders run into problems. They get this, they learn this strategy that they saw somebody do that looks really simple, and they're really successful doing it. They come in and they want to learn it, and if they struggle with it, they quit. They want to go find something else. They never take the time to figure out why it's not working for them. It could be a bullshit strategy that you learn that somebody's teaching that they don't even trade. They don't even know how it works. I mean, it could be that. It could be that the market conditions have changed. It could be that you're choosing the wrong stocks to try and trade that particular strategy. I like to trade the opening range breakouts, and if I went looking for stocks that didn't have volume, if I just chose a stock because I liked the name and tried to trade the strategy, I'm gonna fail. There's specific stocks that fit the criteria that I have set so that I can be successful in trading that strategy. Not every stock is gonna be, prime target for trading opening range trades. So, it takes time. And before you start moving on from strategy to strategy, you've got to be well versed in the one that you're trading or two that you're trading. For me, I trade 3 basic strategies. One I may trade 5% of the time. Reversals. There was a time in the market several years ago where reversals were my number one thing. They were my number one thing. I'll trade the opening range, and we would get strong trending moves at the open, and then once it hits the bottom target or the top target, either support or resistance, I could reverse that trade, and I can make money reversing it, and then I can go with the trend. Well, the market isn't as good as it was in those years. Now, the market's a lot choppier now. The volume is not there like it used to be. It's changed. And so, the strategies that I trade, I am well versed in. And I know when to execute those strategies in the market and when to leave them by the wayside. Okay, and over the period of time, I have added additional strategies. I've added the aftermarket earnings strategy. I've added the pre-market strategies. I've added a different type of trend continuation strategy. There are things that I've added, but before I did that, I had to be well versed in the strategies that I do trade. Think about this. If I'm trading earnings and now I run into a time like the last month where we don't have a whole lot of stocks reporting earnings, what do I need to do? How do I handle this? And if I haven't gone through this before, I wouldn't know how to deal with it. I might be forcing trades on stocks that I should not be trading, that are reporting earnings that have zero volume, that the spread's crazy on, but I still try to trade it because that's all I know. And I haven't taken time to learn how to make those adjustments to that particular strategy. And that's where this segues into, adjusting for market conditions. We're going to be working on that one next. But the key is, don't jump from strategy to strategy to strategy until you have given it everything you can to try and make it work. Now, if it doesn't fit, if you're trying to trade, like, let's say the gap and go strategy that Ross does, and you just can't, I mean, it just moves too fast for you. I'm not going to lie. For me, it just moves too fast. You know, I've got a lot of stuff going against me. I've got dyslexia that kind of hurts me when I'm doing fast things, and I'm from the South, and I like to do things slow. So I've got two major things that will keep me from trading those type of strategies. So I know what fits me. And like I said, by now you should be there already. So anytime you find this, you start thinking about the strategy, the first thing you want to do is go through this list and make sure that you are where you need to be before you move on. So when you go into looking for a new strategy, you want to determine, okay, do you want to have a new day trading strategy? Do you want to have add a swing trading strategy to go along with your day trading? Or do you want to start doing some longer term investing? You know, this is going to determine how you start planning to add a strategy. Because if you want to add a swing trading strategy and you've been day trading, you're going to want to learn a little bit more about swing trading. You're going to want to learn how to determine when to engage the market and when not to. You know, this week was not a good week. Last week was not a good week to engage the market for swing trading. We've been chopped up. When we look at the chart here, when I do the recap, my weekly recap, you know, we'll look at that. But, you know, if you're going to do longer term investing, you're going to want to learn a little bit more about that. All right, but you want to make sure that you know where you want to add it. The other thing is, if you're day trading and you want to add another day trading strategy, you need to make sure that those two strategies don't overlap each other. Okay, that's when you start getting messed up. If you're trying to trade an opening range trade and then you have another opening strategy that's active, that's the most active the same time your fundamental strategy is, you're going to end up losing on both. So you want to make sure, if you're going to add another day trading strategy, that it doesn't overlap the ones that you do. Like when I added my day trading strategies, I added an all-day an all-day hold that ideally I could enter pre-market, set my targets when the market opens, and then just leave it alone and focus on my regular day trades. Same thing with swing trading. The idea is, if it triggers an entry within the first 5 minutes, enter, set my stop, and just let it go. Don't look at it again until lunchtime. And if it's made a huge move at lunch, put your profit target in. But don't worry about all of that, on a swing trade, because you're expecting it to take 2 to 3 days, maybe more, to get to where you want it to go. So you want to decide where what type of strategy you want to add, and make sure that it's not going to interfere with the strategies that you already have in place. That's very, very important. So, then I added the aftermarket earnings trade. So, I don't have anything really overlapping to confuse me or get me all out of sorts. So that's another thing that you want to make sure that you think about. Also, some people like say, okay, I'm doing stocks now, I want to do a little bit of options. You know, options can be more fiscally rewarding than traditional trading, you know, stock trading, but it also carries more leverage, which equals more risk. So if you are not a if you don't have ice water running through your veins, the options market might not be for you. Because you talking about, we have problems with swings in day trading. It's not uncommon for you to be in an options trade and see it lose 50% before it jumps back up and gains 100%. So trading options, you incur a certain level of risk and tolerance, and I mean certain level of risk that you have to deal with. So you really want to be an experienced trader before you get into options. Now options, they're great, they have their place, but you got to make sure you're ready for it, or else your house of cards will come crashing down. So whenever you are thinking about adding a strategy, make sure you're well versed in your strategy. You got that down pat. You traded it through multiple market conditions. You're very comfortable with it, or any other strategies that you have. That's your core. That's your foundation. That's where you can come back to if you ever need to. If you ever get lost, you're going to be able to come back to that and build your trading house back up again. All right, so just keep that in mind. And I'm going to refer back to this next week when we get into adjusting for market conditions. So, you know, we'll kind of review this, a little bit of this then. So let's kind of move into this week. Now, if we look at the SPY, we kind of hung down. We never did test this 425 level like I expected it to. You can see we hit here, we tested it here. We never did pull back. It actually made a higher low, barely. And Thursday morning, we got the gap up. We got the big gap up over the 20-day, but we couldn't close above it. We closed below the 20-day. Today, we opened above the 20-day and sold off and closed back below the 20-day. This is not ideal swing trading price action. This is not ideal day trading price action, for that matter. Are there opportunities out there? Absolutely. There's always going to be stocks that have a catalyst that's going to trade it opposite the market or make it more volatile trading alongside the market. But, you know, here I'm looking at this. My technical analysis tells me we are in no man's land. We're between the 20 and the 50. Today we just closed below the 20. We've got the 100-day moving average sitting here and the 5-day pretty much right on top of each other. So looking at the chart here, this was kind of a dead cat bounce. Here we had a candle today that made a lower high, a lower low. That means we're pulling back. Now we can pull back to this 100-day moving average and the 5-day. We can definitely pull back to this and bounce and start making the run up. But, you know, time is, we just have to wait and see. There are too many things that could happen over the weekend that could affect what the market does when it opens on Sunday night. That's something that we'll have to wait on. But technical analysis, if I'm just using pure technical analysis, this tells me we're going to come down on Monday. Either we're going to gap down and sit on this level, or we're going to sell at the open and it's going to pull back. But we'll see. Time will tell. Maybe we'll get some mind-blowing news and we wake up to a gap up on Monday. So that's where we are with the market analysis. This is my trade yesterday. I didn't get a chance to make the video yesterday, but this is the trade yesterday. You can see I did the opening range low. The market gapped up. We got the initial value to the short side, but no follow through. Then it turned around and bounced back, but my stop didn't trigger. My stop got rejected. I resent it. It got rejected again. And then I just marketed it out. And it took me out. So my 2 stop orders were limit orders. I just marketed it out and I was able to get out. So that happened. And then all of a sudden, I realized I'm long this stock, NET, 600 shares. Because the 2 stops that I had that showed cancel actually executed. And I'm like, how does this even happen? So I'm in 600 shares. I take a breath. I was like, okay, breathe. What's the stop on this? If it gets below what level, that it's going to tell me this trade isn't going to work. And the low of this candle was going to be my stop. And you can see we pulled back a nice long wick here. I thought I had something here. It pulled back. And it just kind of chopped up. It died out. You can see the volume pretty much went down with the exception of this candle. And eventually it kind of worked its way up towards the 52-week high, which is this 137. I can't remember what the number was, but you can see it pulled all the way back down. Here it stopped me out, and it would have stopped me out on this too. But it bounced, and once we reclaimed the 20-day, I got back in. And it pulled back, and this thing just kind of rolled around in the middle of nowhere until it finally worked its way up. The market closed, but a pleasant surprise was that I got filled right before the market closed. So even though this was a huge loss for me, I only ended up short $45.97. Not bad, considering everything that I had to deal with, the platform issue, which even though it wasn't my fault, I had to take responsibility and accept it, take a breath, and try to assess the situation. And that's exactly what you guys saw me do, and just kind of let the market do its thing. And that's what we have to do. All right, so today I had, let me go back. The reason why I did this, okay, so only 300 shares or 200 shares, one of the two, got taken off here, got closed out once it hit the target. So it left me with 200 shares. Yeah, left me with 200 shares. All right, so what I did was I held on to it, and I said once we got over 137.50 or 138.50, I was gonna add, and that's exactly what I did. Once we got over it, I added and started taking profit. It didn't get to 140, which was my final target. I did pick up 2, but you got to remember, I already had a position out left from yesterday, which you guys saw right here. 200 shares still open. And that's what I kind of worked it off of, over here. So this was pretty nice this morning. Never did come back and, take out the high here. This right here was a mistake of mine, because instead of me taking a piece off, I accidentally took the whole thing off. So I was out. I was 100% out after this. This was completely my fault. And so I had to deal with that. And that's why it never really set up for me to get back in. Never really set up. And here, this was like 3 o'clock. It went up, but guess what? This candle never confirmed it. So there was no entry here. So that was net. Started yesterday. Completed it today. And this is one of the rare occasions where you'll see me trade a stock less than 20 bucks. This was on the analyst downgrade list. This was a stock that had an incredible potential. 1,000 shares here, and me getting a move down to 12. This was kind of the first target. The final target was like $12 and some change, which was the low of the previous day. So that's what of the aftermarket. It was the low of aftermarket or pre-market. I can't remember, because hold on a second. We can figure it out right quick here. Let's see. We can figure it out right quick. Alright, so here it is right here. And we need just to show you where we were. Alright. So here was the low after it gapped down yesterday after the announcement came out. 12.31. This was gonna be my my final target. I wasn't gonna take everything off, but it was gonna be my final target. I would have left maybe 25 shares on, but and this was lower price enough. I could take 1,000 shares and felt comfortable with it. I gave it a 50-cent stop. But we got to the first target and it bounced. And here I got to the second target, did the same thing again. Accidentally took everything off. Oh no, I'm sorry. I did it here. I accidentally took everything off here. I made that mistake. And then I waited for it to come back down and I got back in. And I only gave it a 50-cent stop. The second time I got in, was able to get profit here, and it actually stopped me out going into the close. But you'll see this is a bigger picture of it. But yeah, I completely forgot. I made the same mistake here by taking it all off. I mean, I just had issues today and just kind of messed myself up. But all in all, I think we had a pretty decent day, I would say. 11:45:38. Thanks to the 200 shares that we brought over from last night that was left on, that helped us have a really, really good day. But I think ALLO would have been really good too, but it was on short sale restriction, and that kind of hurt it. I mean, we had huge window down, like we saw. Huge window down, but we just couldn't get the selling. Just couldn't get it. So even though you guys saw how I struggled this week, and with personal stuff, this morning, my emotions were getting the best of me. I was upset because of what Ford did. Ford stopped me out and like went lower than it did the previous 2 days, and then today it just rips. I was upset from the word go, but I was able to maintain it, corral it, end up having a decent day. Wasn't perfect by no means. So you see what we've got coming up. I got my chart, my slides mixed up. But you see what we've got coming up next week. The financial stocks kind of kick it off with JP Chase, Pinnacle, First Republic, Wells Fargo, Citibank, Bank of America, PNC, Goldman Sachs, Charles Schwab. I mean, all of these are financial stocks, basically. All of the financial stocks. So that typically kicks it off starting next week. But I don't trade these that much. I rarely trade financial stocks. So, next week will probably be relatively slow for me again. But the week after, things should ramp up pretty good. We're going to have a lot of PDT opportunities, and it's not unheard of. I mean, I've made, out of a $5,000 account, I've made $5,000 to $7,000 average a month doing it. So I know it can be done. I've done it, and you're gonna see. Unlike like I said, you could watch videos of people trading PDT stuff, on them teaching you a strategy, but unless you can trade with them live and actually see them implement what they're teaching, they might as well be speaking in a foreign language that you don't understand, because it's going to be hard to execute it. So finishing up this week, you can see the struggle. Monday, even though mentally I wasn't 100% there, we had a halfway decent day. Wednesday, no go. Struggle on Wednesday. I think I messed this up. Yesterday, I think I did pretty good. Even though I had the platform issue, I still think I did fairly well getting out of it. I wasn't going to beat myself up over it. Just pick it up and move on, accept it, and go. And today, we had a really, really good day. So, should finish the week over $1,000. I haven't added it up yet. I gotta wait until things close out tonight. Tomorrow I'll be able to verify everything and then kind of go from there. All right, but that's gonna wrap it up for me right now. You know, I'll close it out completely on the first video next week. But I will see you guys. Everybody that I see on Sunday, I'll see you guys Sunday morning for our market analysis session. And the rest of you guys, I will catch you on Monday. So have a safe weekend. And until Monday, until next week.